Hello, this is Lynn with Stitched Anew. Welcome back. So today I've got a cool project for us. I thought I would do something a little bit different from what I've been doing before. The Fat Quarter Shop has released a brand new quilt along, which I thought might be fun to do. So it's called Boo to You, a mystery quilt along. So this is the project sheet. They released this, I believe, last week to tell you all the supplies you need for the pattern. And then this week, they released the first block in the mystery quilt. So week 1 is called the Boo to You banner block. I thought that was really cool looking. So what I would like to do, I'm going to do the sew along. So I will, each week I'm going to be posting what I've done and show you my progress. I'm using some unusual fabrics, not quite the orange and blacks you see in this picture. So I'll show you those in just a little bit. But I also want to do something a little different. So I'm going to actually do this project twice. I'm going to do it once as part of the sew along, and I'm going to do it as another project that I'm going to share with you as I go along. So I've got something cool in mind. So hopefully you'll follow along with us. Lady Girl will probably show up here in a little while, as she always does, to check out my sewing. So let me show you some of the cool fabrics I picked out. So I started with these yummy fall kind of pinks and oranges. I really like these color combinations. This one's got little kitties with witch hats. And I've got some, there's the pumpkins. Oh, it's upside down. Pink and yellowy pumpkins. I've got some background with this yellow scattered dot. I've got some kitty corn. So I've got some really cool fabrics to select from for this. I really am getting into the pinks and oranges for the Halloween. So hopefully you guys will have some fun as we sew along with this Fat Quarter Shop Boo to You quilt along. So come on and join Lady Girl and I as we get started with this week's project. Okay, for this project, we need the background, color for the letters, and then we need 3 different shades of another color. On this banner, they've got it as orange, but I think I want to do something different. Oh, and with this one, I'm not going to give you the pieces I'm cutting out. I'm going to let you go to the Fat Quarter Shop. This is a free download from them. Please go there and check this one out. Okay, so in their picture, they have 3 shades of orange with this black polka dot to do the letters in. I think I got these last year, and I think they would be perfect for this. So there's like an orange and pink plaid, these little kitty cat witches on a hot pink, and then these pink pumpkins. Let me see who this is by. This says Kitty Loves Candy by Poppy Cotton. Let's see who the next one is. Same thing. And let's see if this is the same. So maybe it's all the same collection. It is. Alright, so these are all 3 from that Kitty Candy. I don't know if these are still available because, like I said, I got them last year. And then I just happened to have this black kind of scattered polka dot. That's what I'm going to use for my letters. I also pulled these. These are from the Kitty Corn collection. Let me see if there's a little bit more information on the salvage on that one. So that one is called Kitty Corn by Moda. And I just love this print. You'll see the little spiders and the It's still got the pinks and greens and oranges in there. This is from the same line, and then this one is from the same line as these others. So I may work those in as I do the whole project, and then possibly this instead of the black for the background, but I haven't made up my mind yet. So I thought for today, I'm going to make the 3 letters and then lay them on some of the backgrounds I chose, and then I'll see which one sticks out the most to me. So let me get the pieces cut out and I'll get back with you. Alright, so I got them all cut out. Let me get my board, and then I will move them over to my sewing machine and we'll get started sewing. Okay, so here's all the pieces laid out. I've got my 3 colors laid out. So this will be the B, the first O, the second O, and these are going to be the letters. This is my project board. I've got a few of them. They are just, see, it's foam core, and I put flannel that I use spray glue and put on, and then just bound them with the fabric that matches my ironing and cutting table. And then I made these pins. Let me see if I have another one. So I just have these regular pins, and I went to Hobby Lobby and bought a set of beads that were the alphabet, and then I just slid them on the pins and hot glued them on there. So I have one for each letter of the alphabet. You can also, I have some of these pins, because sometimes I need more than one letter, that are, these just happen to be little tulips. I've got some that are butterflies. You could even take these and just write the letters on the head. In the cutting directions, all of the pieces have a letter, and then in the directions, it'll tell you which letters to put together. So you need to know what letter each piece is. So what I did is, since this is just foam core, I took each piece and then I pushed it into the foam core. This just pushed into the foam core with the letter for each piece. So that's what I've got going on here. Just will make it a little bit easier. And then for the O, since there's 2, so this piece is O, but so is this one. So that's my 2 different colors for the O's. Alright, so let's see what our first thing to assemble is. Alright, so the first thing our directions say is to draw a diagonal line on the wrong side of letter N. So this is letter N. And then with right sides facing together, we're going to layer N on top of F. Where's F? Here's F. So we're going to take these and do a diagonal line and sew across. So let me go to the machine and do that. Okay, so here's that first piece lined up. Make sure those edges with these small pieces, you really got to watch your piecing. And we're going to go from this top left corner to the bottom right. And instead of drawing that line, I've got my tape here that'll help me with that. So I'm going to line up that tip with my needle and the corner here and sew straight across. Okay, so there's that seam, and then we can fold that over, and that's our first piece. Okay, for our second piece, we're going to take another one of those F rectangles with the end squares. We're going to put them on the same side, only this time, instead of going from top left to bottom right, we're going to be going from top right to bottom left. Right, so get that all lined up. Again, lining up with that needle, and then putting the point down here on that line that's lined up with my needle. And for this one, we're going to fold it down. Right, I'm just finger pressing there, so you'll see how the pieces, one the corner goes up, one the corner goes down. And I didn't show you on this first piece, I already trimmed on the bottom a 1/4 inch away from that seam. So here, this bottom piece, I'm just going to use my scissors and trim about 1/4 of an inch. Since it's in the seam allowance and you're not going to see it from the front, it's okay if it's not perfect, but you want it to be pretty close. So there's our first two pieces. All right, so let's see. Next, with right sides facing each other, we want a square of N. That's our last one. And a G. We have one of those. Again, we're going to put them right sides together with this at the bottom. And for this one, we're going to go from top right to bottom left. Line that bottom up. Here we go. Fold it over. Oop, that one's not quite right. I want to try this one again. Okay, pulled out Mr. Jack. Took those apart. Now let's try that again. Let's line those up really good. Make sure we've got all those threads out of there. Let's try that one more time. There we go. Much better. And then, again, I'm going to trim that off to the 1/4 inch. And for now, I'm just finger pressing these. Before I assemble, I will take them to the iron and make sure I have nice, crisp seams. All right, let's see. Now I need fabric I. Turn you this way just a little bit. Okay, so with these, I haven't been paying close enough attention. Once you finish each section, it tells you lower letter B, partial side letter B. So this section that we just finished is partial side letter B. So now we're going to take this I, turn it upside down, facing that piece, and we're going to do our diagonal line from upper left to bottom right. Let me make sure everything's lined up perfect there. Get this corners lined up right. And so. Okay, that one is sewn on. So this one will fold this way. And now I'll trim off that seam allowance underneath. And this is side letter B unit. Okay, so I'm going to set that one to the side. So now I get to do some assembly. So I'm going to take the partial letter B unit. So I need to take the two M's with a G. And we're going to put the letter in the middle and make this unit, and then we'll sew this unit to the side. So let me sew these together. Open it up. So this one on. And then sew this one on. Gotta pay attention. I thought that one didn't look quite right. But if I look in the directions, look real close here, you're supposed to sew letter H to the bottom of this. So let me get letter H. Right sides together. There we go. Now this one and this one will go together. Let me go and press all these pieces I have with the iron, and then I'll meet you right back. Okay, now we've got all the pieces nice and pressed. And I want you to notice, see this little bump right there that we don't have? It'll be okay when we do this stitch. That's where our 1/4 inch seam is. So we're going to take this piece, and I just, since I was using the dark in the middle, I pressed the seams to the middle so that that dark doesn't show up through the lighter color. So I'm going to sew these two pieces together, right sides together. Lined up right. And there is our partial letter B unit. Okay. Now, our next step is assemble. We're going to assemble letter B unit. So we need to make our letter D. Let's see. What are we missing here? Oh, I know what we need to do. So we need to add, nope, this one's going to the bottom, and this one's going to the top, and that will make our letter B unit. So I need to take this top one and sew it across. Go ahead and put a clip right there to hold it together. Make sure everything's lined up. 1/4 inch seams. Okay, they're There's our top seam. Here comes our bottom seam. Line these up. Let's put a clip on there. And 1/4 inch seam. See, I'm going to take that to my iron and I'm going to press those to the dark and I'll meet you right back. Okay, there we go. So I pressed those out. That one got a little flipped. Straighten that one out. So press those out and you'll notice on the front side we've got these little pieces here that are not perfect diagonals. That's exactly what we should have, because when we add our next piece, that will meet right here and we will have those perfect corners. So we want to make sure that these are not diagonal right now. Okay, so the next piece is to add this on the side. And let's do a couple of clips here. There. One here. And our 1/4 inch seam. Open it up. There's our B. All right, I'm going to go and iron that side down. Okay, there's our B. And you'll see I pressed to that dark side and I fixed that flip seam while I was at it too. So there's our B. Now, the next step on the pattern is to make the little V part that goes at the bottom here. I'm going to hold off doing that because in order to do that, I have to know what my background color is going to be. And I don't know that yet. I'm going to make my letters and then decide. But I do need to assemble these pieces that go around that B. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So on either side is L. Let me pull that one out. Those will go on either side like this. So let me sew those on. Flip it around. I'm going to sew the one on the other side. And I'm going to take this and iron these out. I'll be right back. Don't know if that just filmed or not, but I just sewed those pieces on either side. I'm going to fold them out. I'm going to take that to the iron, and we will have our B all finished except for that bottom piece, which we'll look at in just a moment. So let me take that over and iron it flat. Okay, here's my letter B, all pressed. But if you'll notice, my edges are a little bit off. So this is supposed to be 6.5 inches wide right now. So I'm going to lay my ruler here on it. And I'm just a tiny bit over on some of the edges. So I'm going to take a chance now before I move on and trim that up. Now, if I was short, I would go back and take this off and check my seam allowance there. But since I'm just off a little bit, it could be from pressing or just from the fabric stretching just a little bit. So let me trim. You'll see I've got the 6.5 inch. I've got plenty here. Let me trim. So you'll see that's all I took off. Can you see those? That's all I took off on that side. I'm going to flip it over. I'm going to do the same on the other side. I'm lining that 6.5 inch and one of the straight lines across. And again, you'll see I'm just taking little slivers off there. If I had anything major more than just those slivers, I would definitely go back and check to see what was going on with my seam allowances. But since that's what I'm trimming off, I'm content with that. Okay, so now I know my block is 6.5 inches wide, and I've got my B block finished. So let's go through and do the letter O. Okay, for our letter O, first says we need fabric S. And we're going to put it to the right side of fabric E. So we're going to put this direction and put S over top. Lining those edges up really good. As I said before, with these really small pieces, you need to be really close and accurate with your sewing. And we're going to sew a diagonal from the top right to the bottom left. And unless you have your tape, you're going to draw a line and sew on that line. So I'm going to line my top corner with my needle and my bottom corner with my red line. Okay, and that one will get flipped up. All right, now I'm just going to finger press. There's that corner. And now we're going to do the same thing. We're going to get that S block. It's going to go on the opposite corner. And we're going to sew from top left to bottom right. Okay, from top left, bottom right. That's going to get flipped up, and that's what that's going to look like. So I'm going to finger press and then trim those off about 1/4 of an inch. See that? Okay. And then we'll flip it over the same one. Let's get that thread while we're at it. Get the thread. And there we go. Okay, now we need to do this a total of 4 times. So let's do that 3 more times. Oh, I'm sorry. Total of 2. I'm sorry. So we need to do this 2 more times for each letter. So we need a total of 4, but 2 from each print. Let me get that S fabric. All right, here's our E fabric. On the corners up. from right to left. And the other side. We're going to do from left to bottom right. There we go. All right. Finger press. Cut 1/4 of an inch away. There is our second piece. All right. Now I'm going to set those to the side. And we're going to skip down. Because as I said, I don't know what I want to use for my background. Oop, can you see that? I don't know what I'm going to do for my background just yet. So I'm going to continue making my O. 2 letter F's. And we're going to sew one of these on either side. Let me see if I can get those apart. They definitely don't want to come apart. And we're going to sew one on either side. Just like that. This side up. Okay, there's that one. Now, before I assemble any more, I'm going to take all of these parts over to the iron and give them a good press. All right, here we go, all pressed. I press these going out. Miss these, see these corners going out. And these I pressed going out to the dark. So when we put them together, it looks like that. And I chose this one to go in the top. Do you see the little kitty cat kind of laying there? I thought that was kind of cute. So I'm going to put him at the top of the O. So let's assemble those. A couple clips. One for here. One for here. Flip it over. Let's do the one for the bottom. And another 1/4 inch seam. There's our O. So let me take this over and press, and I will press these toward the dark. Here we go, all pressed. So if you'll notice, there's those little spots again on the edges where they don't go diagonal all the way to the corner. On our B, see how when we add our side pieces, that all was correct. It'll be the same with our O. So you need to make sure you have that piece right there. See where it's flat, so that everything will turn out right. So with this one, there's our O, but we got to put that border around it just like we did on the B. See how the border's all the way around. So now we got to do it with this one. So for this one, we want our R shapes. Let's see, so those will go on either side. And then we're going to add this one to the other side. Let's see, I like the pink one sticking up with these tossed cats. See how I've got one going up and one going down? You can kind of pick which way you want the kitty cats to go. Those two sides. I'm going to take this over and press, and then I'll come back and add the top and bottom. There we go. I pressed them going out, so everything kind of lays flat. Now let's add those top pieces. Let's see, that's going to be letter Q. There we go. Works much better when you actually have bobbin thread in. So there's our O. Now I'm going to take this over and press it, and then we'll do the same thing I did with our B and make sure, see, I'm off just a little bit here, and double check and make sure I've got the right width measurement of 6.5 inches. So let me go do that, and I'll meet you back here. Alright, there's my letter O. And I did have to do a little bit of trimming. Again, there's my two sides. So, a little bit more off on that one, but it's still okay. I'm exactly 6.5 inches wide. So now, I'm going to make my other O with my pumpkin fabric. And I'll show you what that looks like once I get that all done. Alright, here's my 3 letters, B-O-O, and I still have my 3 coordinating fabrics that will make the V part here at the bottom. Let me pull my, so I still need to make this V part, but I need to know, I need to pick my background fabric now. So I'm going to take this back over to my cutting table and audition a few fabrics and see which one I like best for the background. Okay, so I've moved everything over to my cutting table. And this is the background I originally thought about for my wall hanging. And it's okay. It's not bad. And then I thought about doing more of just the polka dot that's in the center, that scattered polka dot. That really makes it pop too, but it's kind of busy. I even thought about, there's that kitty corn I had before, and all I'm doing, I've got my fabric wrapped on my little comic book boards, and I'm just kind of laying it out and setting the fabric on there to see what I think about it going, because it'll go all the way around. So it'll wind up going all the way around the letters in the end. So that one, I don't know. I think it's just, it's going to lose some of the pop with that. So I think I'm leaning more toward the orange, which was my original thought. Let's try this one again. On the pattern, it has just a black, and I didn't really care for the black. I think I'm going to go for the orange. I think there's enough contrast, and a little bit of print that's in there doesn't compete with these, so I'm going to go with the orange. So let me get started with cutting out the pieces I need to make those little pieces at the bottom and to go around each one of these. Okay, so these pieces are piece A. They are my background squares. For each one of those, I'm going to take these squares and we're going to make a flying goose block. I'm going to even it with the left side, and I'm going to sew from the top right to the bottom left. Flip that up, it'll look like that. Now I'm going to finger press that and then go back and trim that 1/4 inch. Okay, flip this out, and then I'm going to take the other piece and again I'm going to go from corner to corner, but this time I'm going to go from the top left to the bottom right. And lining that point up at the bottom. Flip it up. There's our flying goose piece. So now I'm going to trim, leaving a 1/4 inch. Let me go press that. Okay, there we go. All pressed. Now, you'll see this little point right here. That's going to be very important when we line this up. So let me go back to my B block. And this is going to fit just like this. So I'm going to flip this right side up, or right sides together on the bottom of that B block and put a couple of clips in there. Now, see where those seams, got some threads, let me clip them. When we do our 1/4 inch seam, we want to come and just touch that little intersection where those two come together. And that will give us a point. So I want to be just shy of going through that. So I want to make sure this side is up when I sew, so I can make sure that intersection is correct. You'll see I'm going to take my time and I'm going to make sure my needle is lined up to go just a scooch over to the side of that. Now, if I did good enough, let's see, that seam went just barely upward of that. I should have a point. Mostly. That's a pretty good point. Okay, so then I will press this, and that will be the completion of my B block. So let me go ahead, I'm going to do the same thing with both of my O blocks. Okay, let me take both of these over and iron them, and then I'll attach them to the letters. Okay, got them both pressed. Just need to add them to the bottom of my O's. And again, I'm going to put them with the triangle, the flying goose part up. Now I'm going to watch that point. I want to go just a little bit to the top of that point. Alright, let's see how we did with that one. Ah, there we go. Perfect point. Can you see that? Absolutely perfect point. So let's try that with our last O. Again, perfect. Okay, I'm going to go back. I'm feeling bad about this one. See how it's a little bit flat? I'm going to take this out, and we're going to do this again. Let's see how we did this time. Much, much better. Now we got that nice, crisp point in there. So let me take these over and iron them. All right, there's all three of our letters made, B-O-O. Now, we got just a couple more steps left. We got 3 more pieces. There's one piece that goes between each letter to kind of separate them. There you go. And then we have one piece that'll go across the bottom. Okay, so let me get ready and sew those on. Alright, there's all of our letters. And now I'm just going to sew this bottom piece onto the bottom. Okay, now let me take this over and press. Alright, there we go. That's our finished part 1 of our mystery Boo to You banner block from that quarter shop. But I told you there was something else I wanted to do with this. So let me show you what it is I have in mind. But I'm very happy with that. Okay, so this is my living room. There's my TV, my console, my front door. And I have this area right here with, it's just a curtain rod hanging there, that I hang different holiday banners right there. So let me show you what I have in mind. So here's what I have in mind. I would like to take this background fabric and go all the way around with that. And then I'm going to put some tabs across the top, quilt it, and make a wall hanging with just the boot. That's what it looks like now. So I'm going to take strips of fabric the exact same width as these. and add them on either side. And then I'm going to measure and see what size I need to put up here. So let me go do that. Okay, so here's what I came up with. So these were cut, the center pieces, at 1.5 inches. So the finished piece was 11.5 inches tall. So I cut 1.5 inch strips by 11.5 inch. So 2 of those, and I added them to either side. And then I wanted a little bit more room at the top. So this wound up being 23 inches long. So I cut a 2.5 inch strip by 23 inches wide and added that to the top. And this is what I came up with. So that makes my top 14 inches tall by 23 inches long. Now what I'm going to do is I've gotten a piece of scrap batting. Put that down. That's a little bit bigger than my finished piece. And I'm not going to put a backing on it yet. I'm going to show you what I'm going to do for the backing. And I'm going to go through and do some basic quilting with my domestic machine, with my Juki. I'm just going to go down each one of these little flags that surrounds the letters and just do some basic quilting just to hold it together. So let's go over to the machine and work on that. Since this is such a small project, instead of getting my regular safety pins out, I just put a couple of pins, you can see it there, above each letter and below each letter. And I'm going to, as I said, just quilt the flag shape around each one of those letters. So on my machine, I'm going to lengthen my stitch length. My normal stitch length is 2.4. I'm going to lengthen it to 3 since I'm quilting. And I'm going to start with the middle letter to avoid the most amount of shifting. And I'm just going to start in the corner of this first O. And like I said, I'm just going around and I'm just going to stitch in the ditch. I'm going just inside, for this one, the pink cat fabric. Okay, quilting all done. Now I'm going to go trim the extra batting away and show you my next step. Okay, there we go, all quilted, and it's just the batting on the back. I don't have a backing on here. So what I want to do, since I'm going to use this as a wall hanging, I need some tabs there at the top that I can hang it with. So I want to use this background fabric again and make tabs to go across the top. So let me slide this to the side, get my background fabric, and I'm going to cut a strip of fabric 4 inches wide by the width of the fabric. Okay. Now with this, I'm going to take it to the iron. I'm going to fold it in half. Then open it up and fold those in to make those hangers that I need to hang it up. So There we go. About 5 inches long. And that's folded in half. So I need to cut these at 10 inches. So what I'm going to do, let's see if we can get these evenly spaced. Okay, so I need 1 tab to each side. And I'm going to bring it in the width of that outside piece. And I'm going to fold it in half. It's folded. And I'm going to put the cut edges together and line those up with the top edge. Put that right there. Okay. Now I want to do the same thing on the other side. Those up. I'm going to clip them. So now, well, the most logical spot to put them would be right above these. That would line them up. That would be perfect centering. So let's do that. So you can fold it in half. And I'm going to line it up with that piece of sashing that divides those letters. Put one there. And one right here. And I'm going to tack those into place. I'm just going to do maybe 1/8 of an inch there because I want this to be hidden in a seam allowance. I'm going to do. I'm just going to do about 1/8 of an inch there. And I'm going to do a couple passes. Okay, so I've got all 4 of those attached. Now the next thing I want to do is I'm going to decide on my backing fabric. I'm probably going to use this same orange fabric. Because of the way I'm going to do my backing fabric, it could show on the edges because I'm not going to do a binding with this. If this were an actual quilt that was going to get a lot of wear and tear, I would do a binding. But since this is just going to be a wall hanging, I don't have to worry so much about the edges. So I'm going to cut a piece of fabric out of this backing fabric that's the exact same size as my top, which was 14 by 23 inches. And then I'm going to sandwich them right sides together and then sew a seam all the way around, leaving a small pocket here at the bottom to open it up. So let me go cut that piece of fabric. Here's my top with my tabs attached, and I have cut a piece of fabric the exact same size, so 14 by 23, and I'm going to put them right sides together. Get the strings off. And then I'm going to clip it all the way around. Here at the bottom, I need to leave a pocket open so I can turn it right side out. So what I like to do so I don't forget, I'll put a clip and then I'll put another clip. And the same thing over here. Clip and another clip. So I know between the double clips, I need to leave that open so I can turn it right side out. So let me take this over to the sewing machine and sew all the way. Okay, so there we go. I have sewn the backing fabric to the quilted side all the way around. I left the gap here at the bottom for turning. So before I turn it, I'm going to clip my corners. That'll just help me to get nice crisp corners. Okay, now I'm going to turn it right side out. Alright, let me get that magic tool, chopstick, So it's got a nice blunt tip, so I'll make sure when I'm poking my corners, it doesn't poke through. So I'm going to go in with that, and then I'm just going to use it to poke out those corners. So they are nice and crisp. There you go. So I'm going to take it over to the iron and press it nice and flat. I'll turn this bottom in just like it was sewn. And I'll meet you right back. Okay, so there I go. Everything's nice and pressed flat. And I've pressed that opening closed. I will put a couple of clips on there just to hold it while I'm sewing. Now, to close that hole up, but also to give a little bit more structure, I'm going to do a top stitch all the way around the rectangle. Okay, so I'm going to start, I'm just going to pick a corner. I am going to lengthen that stitch length. I'm going to keep it at 3 because this is kind of thick, so I want it to go through the quilting. And I'm going to come off from the corner just a little bit and do a back stitch just so that I lock it in place. Coming back to where I started here, so I'm going to come forward over it a little bit and then do a back stitch again. Let's trim those threads. There we go. All right, let's go hang it on the wall and see what it looks like. Here we go. That's the finished product in place. I'm so excited with the pink and orange. The cute little pink kitties. I do think they're showing up a little bit brighter than they are in person. And then I've even got the pink pumpkins over here. Now, it is a little bit early. It is August, so I won't leave this hanging up for now, but I'm so excited because come October, this will be hanging up. I love it. Thank you guys so much for joining me for this sweet little project. Remember, Fat Quarter Shop, boo to you. So, please give us a like and subscribe. It really does help support our small little channel. And as always, thank you for joining us. This is what I got to do today. What will you get to do today?